Okay, Brendan, who do we have here now?
Michael Soteriou.
Right. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Soteriou, yeah.
Yeah.
Soteriou, yeah, I've got it right, haven't I? Yeah, and I haven't called him Angelo.
Yeah.
They used to get him wrong a lot,
Yeah.
He's got a twin brother, so...
Oh, really? And do you look like each other?
He did until he had his hair cut, yeah.
Right.
And Dave was, he was always actually really happy to see him, like he'd invite him to all the parties here. A lot of the time, if he had something reasonably important, or he felt that he needed someone he could rely on, he'd ring Michael. So I mean, you have been on a night out with him where you had to sit with your hand in your pocket.
Yeah, tell us that story.
I was around Dave's house one day, just chilling out, just sitting my hand as a friend really, and then he gets a phone call. I don't quite know what the phone call was about, but Dave said, right, got to go to Chelsea. He said, I've got a meeting. What I want you to do is just to sit a few tables away, don't say a word, and I just want you to sit there with your hand in your pocket like you got a gun. So I didn't ask what the meeting was about, any questions, I'm not a big question asker. It's between Dave and the other guy. So we drive to Chelsea, we go into this, I think it was like a hotel lobby. Dave sits down with the guy. So I'm a few tables away, got a drink on the table, put my hand in here, and I just sit there looking, don't say a word. And the guy that's opposite Dave, he's trying to give Dave his attention, but every 2 seconds he's just like that, just keeps looking over at me. And I don't hear what they're talking about, but I just heard Dave turn around and say, don't worry about him, just look at me. So then I can see the guy, and he's trying not to move his head, but I can just see his eyes just keep doing that as well. So it had the effect that Dave wanted, because by the end of it, they were shaking hands, laughing, joking. It was like they were mates, like they'd been mates, their whole life. So we got back in the car, drove back. Again, I didn't ask him what it was about, whether it went up, but I know it went well. It had the desired effect that he wanted. Yeah.
He was a master, Dave, at reading situations where it could be a serious situation. I went out with him, and he'd never let you think they was that serious, but he'd tell you certain things or behave in a certain way where you know it's not a normal thing. But he's just little tricks and his props, like I've seen him loads and loads of times put like a fake gun down the back of his trousers, so if he ever got stopped with it, it was just a fake gun. But if you wore that at the back of your suit, whenever people come up and patted you and went, hello Dave, you'd see him pat it and look at him and go, alright Dave, alright, yeah man, yeah, and so if he was in an area where he'd say that there ain't going to be no trouble, but there's a few nutty people in that place, that are a bit might have a rock, they might be a bit too unable to talk to. So he would go in anywhere on his own, or with me, or just Jen, or whatever, but he would have his mindset that he had control of everything. People would look him in the eye and know that he was serious, and he would carry a knuckleduster and he would punch you straight in the face for it, and you wouldn't see it coming. And when he didn't carry that thing in the back of his trousers, no one would ever think it weren't real, but it definitely had the desired effect. He just had a way of
getting in your head,
getting in someone's head and really with their head, you know what I mean? He'd done that with a lot of people. That's why a lot of people really hated him, because he could be a real head at times, you know what I mean? And you'd think, well, how has he done that? But he was just a master at controlling the situation, and only just to keep things on a cool tip, you know what I mean? Not for anything else. It weren't like he was bullying anyone in any way. It was just to stop any trouble, really. I mean, I was on with Dave on and off over 30 years as mates, and I've probably seen him knock out. He'd do at least 4 or 5 a year, to be honest. You know,
a bit more, yeah.
Sometimes he could hit hit a run. I've seen him knock 3 people out in 3 weeks. You know, they just happen to be on that, you know, it just fall like that. Then he wouldn't have no drama for months, you know what I mean? And it was never a drama with Dave, because it literally involved them being a bit cheeky, them looking at Dave and actually thinking, no, he's not that big. Actually, like, I'm a big muscly geezer, I'll probably do him. And before they knew it, David hit them with a duster, broke their jaw, and they were lying on the floor. And it's just a game-ending shot that Dave used to use.
Did you ever come to blows with him at all?
With Dave?
Yeah.
No, we were like bitchy cat fights with me and him. I'd fucking get the ump, because he had a terrible habit, and my habit is I never put the seat up and I piss on the seat. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. And he'd come in sometimes in the morning, he'd go to the toilet and want to have a shit, and he'd sit down and he'd go, "You pissed on the seat." And I'd go, "Well, you threw the lid of the milk away, Dave. I can't find the lid of the milk." He'd come down in the morning, undo the milk, and just literally do that with the top of the milk, pour it out, and then just leave it there. And you'd think, like, I know that sounds stupid, but that used to really annoy me.
You need your own sitcom. You could have.
So, I mean, I'll tell you one time when he used to always eat all, you know, Dave put on a lot of weight at one point, and at night time, if you let him, he'd just eat and eat. And I used to think, because I'd buy the chocolates and bits and pieces, little treats at night, and I'd think, fucking here came them. So I used to hide them in the Rice Krispies.
Right.
Because Dave would never look at night time, he'd never look in the cereal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And or it might have been a Weetabix box that he didn't eat, because he'd eat Rice Krispies, so it was another box that he didn't eat, but I'd put all the bits and pieces in there. And this pigeon flew into the back room one day when we were playing pool, and this is a gospel true story. It's a pigeon, like a carrot racing pigeon. Right. And it got lost, and it flew in, and it must have been so tired it sat on the light on the pool table, and it was just sitting there. You see it was fucked, and he just was smoking a big joint, and he blew all the smoke round it.
Right.
Now the fucking pigeon's stoned, so it's like it ain't going anywhere. Yeah. So now we're looking at this pigeon, and it stayed here for 5 or 6 weeks. Right, so we ended up, the first night I was here, well, I've gone to get, he's going, I'll give it some bits of cereal, let it eat that. Yeah. And I'll see him, and he'd gone to me, "We got any chocolates?" I went, "Nah." Yeah. And then he's picked up this box, and I thought, he's picked it up, and I thought, that's got all the gear in it, it's got all the fucking chocolates in it. He went, "We'll give it a bit of this cereal." And I went, no, it's all right, Dave. And as he emptied it out, all the stuff come out. And he looked at me, he went, "You fucking no good." He went, I said, "Well, I'm thinking of your figure."
Yeah, you did it for him.
And what he hated after that, he said, "I hate you," he said, "because now you've got in my head." And he went, "When I fancy something, I think, will he double bluff me and put him in there again?" And he went, "I end up in the middle of the night still looking at the cereal boxes, and there ain't nothing there." But he said, like, you know, that, but we had silly things like that, Dave, me and argue over, you know what I mean?
Well, what did you have to do with him? Did you go out on jobs? I mean, obviously you can't go into too much detail, but what was your thing really with him?
Criminal activities? My criminal activities were sort of separate to Dave's. I've done my own thing, and Dave done his, but...
He was more an advice person to you, wasn't he, Michael? He'd always advise you.
It's more like a union.
Yeah.
You know? It's like...
Like a doorman's union, wasn't it?
I mean, I think with Dave, you had a lot of criminals out there doing all their own different things, but basically all joined together so that if one person's got a problem with one thing, you'd all help each other out. So if I've got a problem with my thing, then you go to Dave and you can sort this out.
It was a mediator,
yeah. So it was a bit like a union for criminals, basically. Yeah. So
this was like the meeting place here.
Yeah, this was the meeting place, and loads of problems were discussed over the pool table. Yeah. You know, the pool table was where Dave took people out, talked to them, and he could assess them and read them while he was playing pool.
And he'd kind of mediate disputes with it and stuff.
Yeah, he'd give them advice, and if there was problems that they'd have people who was a bit cheeky that Dave might know, and he'd say, they're my doorman down there, don't be rude to them.
Yeah.
And they would actually go, sorry Dave, you know what I mean, and that would make life easier for them. And you know, if anyone come to a complaint about them, they would actually know that they was all right. And you know, so it worked. Had a lot of good things about the whole scenario with Dave. Anyone who knew Dave knew that no one got a smack off Dave unless you earned it. And he would not let anyone get bullied.
No.
And he found out if someone was getting bullied, he would actually, if it was something to do with people that he knew, he'd want to ask them why, what was going on. And 9 times out of 10, most people had caused the problem themselves. But then would come to Dave crying and going, oh, they've done this. And to be fair, most of the people that Dave knew were the same as him. They weren't like that.
Was he a brave man?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't stand down to nothing. Have I seen him hit anyone? But to be fair, if I was with him if someone was giving him any grief, I wouldn't even wait for him to hit anyone. I would just smack him first anyway. I'd always have his back, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, I'd have all your backs.
Yeah, no, Michael and people he worked with were very, very, you know, people like
Serious
Dave
people.
Morgan, Michael, you know, they're very, what's the word? They're strong and silent, and they're very, very
Deadly.
polite. But they're also quite deadly if you actually do something wrong, you know, like they will actually just knock you out. So,
absolutely. You're not going to mess with.
but that's why they can be so humble and polite.
Yeah.
Because they have that talent.
Well, they're the dangerous ones, aren't they? In a way, you know, you just got to respect people like that, haven't you?
Dave's motto was love, loyalty, and respect, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
So you know, he had that sign on his wall, didn't he?
Yeah,
It's nice to be important, but more important to be nice.
Yeah.
That was probably his biggest motto, Dave, that he stuck to most of all. That was the one thing. If he could choose one of them, I'd say it'd be that. Would be his one and only big motto. You know, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
And that's one of the things I learned from Dave.
Yeah.
Which, you know, there's no need to be a bully. There's no need to be, you know, aggressive and that. You always be nice until
you don't need
you
to
don't
be.
have to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
What did you feel when you heard the news that he passed away?
I was devastated. It was Stilks that rang me up first.
Right.
Stilks rang me and said that he's heard that, because I don't do Facebook, so I didn't hear nothing from there. Stilks rang me and said that he thinks Dave's dead, and I didn't believe it. So I phoned Dave. It just rang, and then I phoned Brendan. It just rang, no answer. And then I just thought, I'm not waiting for any phone calls back, so I jumped in my car and I drove straight down here. And as soon as I got here, the house was cordoned off. So I asked the police if anyone was in the house. They said no. I asked them if they could confirm anything that's happened. They confirmed that Dave was no longer here. So I knocked on Shedder's house next door and waited there. And I sat here all day. I was going to wait for you to come back. And then there was a lot of rumours floating around, you know, about the pillow over his head, glove on his hand. So nothing was really making sense. My first thought was he wouldn't do it. He didn't kill himself. Someone must have killed him. Just didn't know what to think. And then, you know, it's just, you know, I was round here 2 weeks before he died, playing pool with him. Had 5 games of pool, he just seemed fine. I didn't want to believe it. And then obviously spoke to you, saw the video, and, you know.
As I say, I think it was a testament to Dave, the fact that he covered it so well. And, you know, how he done that was because he might be in bed for 2 or 3 days during the week, but he'd be on the phone, and if you heard his voice and couldn't see him, he sounded okay. He'd put the persona on, he'd carry it off, do you know what I mean? But he'd be hurting in here, but no one would know that outside, and he always wanted to keep that going as long as possible, because he always felt that all the time he weren't showing any pain and showing any weakness. It was less likely someone, you know, you get a young upstart who just wants to make a name for himself. Well, you know, like a couple of them did try to do that with Dave, and with a Knuckleduster and Dave's way of doing things, he always counteracted that by knocking them out. You know, so he said to me, as long as he said, if it ever gets out, he said, that I'm hurting. He said, and I'm crippled with arthritis, and he said, like, I've got one good punch in me at the moment. He said, but after that, he said, I'm in trouble. So even I've got to make sure whatever I do, I hit them good enough that they don't get up. You know, and I think he was coming to a point in his life, he'd lost the weight, he knew that another 2 or 3 months down the line he was definitely going to look ill. And his vanity was too strong, and the fact that he just didn't want to live that part of his life. You know, he was bigger than life itself, Dave. Yeah, life wasn't good enough for him, so he wouldn't do it.
I mean, it takes a lot of charisma, doesn't it, to have all of those doormen everywhere and all of the people to be around behind one man.
I mean, thank God for his video, because I think that put so many minds at ease, you know. It helps everyone accept it, know, you know, that's what he wanted.
Yes.
That was his decision. And, you know, to be able to say, you know, okay, good luck to you, that's what you wanted. And, you know...
You know, it put everyone's mind at rest, because it weren't no underworld hit.
Well, most people's mind at rest.
Yeah, you get a few.
You still get a few.
There's a few.
There's still a few that, like the conspiracy theorists that think I've killed him or something like that. But like I said, I'm not even interested in answering or talking about it. It's so stupid. But like I said, I'm glad that Dave was he thought so far ahead. He had everything worked out, and like I said, I've got no complaints how he left. I do miss him. I'm always going to miss him. I'm never going to have that friendship or relationship with anyone in my life again like that.
No. But what's your best memory of him? I always remember seeing him. I think it was at Tony Lambriano's funeral when he was on the bike, leading the outlaws and stuff like that.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was a girlfriend, Taz.
But when you look at that video, he just done it without a care in the world. He blatantly broke the law, no helmet. You know, just drove out in front of everyone. Yeah. You know, Dave was, if you left him to organise something, he did do it with class. Yeah. You know, like if you look at Tony Lambriano's funeral, that was done in a beautiful way, you know, like you look at it now and it's got class wrote all over it.
Absolutely.
If he'd done the boxing shows at the Lancaster Hotel, they were classy. You know, he got all the EastEnders stars there. He'd have a few DJs there, EastEnders people. It was a scattering of good celebs, and the boxing weren't great, you know what I mean, but the food was good. Lancaster Gate Hotel was a nice hotel, and it was just a good night out. And Dave, you know, he was really good at enhancing a bit of class onto anything he'd done.
So what was your best memory? Do you have a memory or an image of him?
You know what, my best memories are just when he's telling his stories, you know, and he's in that mode.
He's holding court,
He's in that mode where he's just so funny. And, you know, the good thing about Dave is with people that have that persona, hard men or whatever, they always want to keep that image of I'm tough, I'm this, I'm that. But Dave, he was never like that. He would tell a story even if it made him look an idiot.
He loved it himself all day.
He would tell a story that even made him, you know,
he would actually go out of his way to make you laugh at him. He'd make himself the joke.
And that's the thing, you're laughing because, you know, you can relate to that and you think, you know, a lot of people wouldn't do that. They wouldn't sit there and make a joke or tell a story that's even at your expense, you know. And when he got in his proper storytelling modes, he would have you in stitches, and he really would. And they're the best moments when you're just sitting there. You know, in the end, you know, you can go to his parties, you can be around a lot of people, but I enjoyed coming around here. Where it was just one-on-one,
here, just talking about with Dave and me and you.
Exactly.
And that's what I enjoyed. Bringing your missus round, wasn't it? And it was a personal thing.
Not having everyone around and just, you know, talking about things and just, you know, they're the funny, good times, and they're the times, you know, I miss. And the only people, you know what, the only people that didn't like Dave are the people that never met him. You get a lot of people on YouTube, Instagram, writing the keyboard warriors, writing their little things saying, oh, he's a grass, he's this, he's that, he's a plastic gangster, slagging him off, right? But they're all people that have never met him, never. I was working on the doors at this venue, and I had this local villain in that area, and I can't remember how Dave's name came up, but it did, and this geezer was doing the usual comments, oh, he's a plastic gangster, he's this, he's that, he's a grass, got no time for him. And then one day there was an event there, you and Dave came.
Come down, Brandon Block was playing there,
So Dave and Brendan came down, I was on the doors there, this local villain turned up, he was walking in the garden, looks up, sees Dave, straight away his jaw drops, he's like, oh my God, Dave, what are you doing here? Dave said, oh, you know, just come down. He went, oh, I read your book in prison. And Dave was always good with his fans. He's like, yeah, it's a prison book, you know? And yeah, he was like starstruck, just, oh, you know, everything he'd said before about him, all the oh, he's a grass, he's this, he's that, was just straight out the window. And all of a sudden he was like, you know, a big #1 fan, wasn't he?
Well, I think that sort of sums it up, that he might have had that opinion of Dave, and then when he met him, it changed. The first day I ever see Dave in my life, when I was, you know, working out, knocking a geezer's house down, and he got out of the black and gold XJS Jag, covered in gold and chains and all that, and my immediate thing was, oh, Flash. But I so misjudged him. He come over, spoke to me, was so humble, made me laugh, was polite, everything that you did not expect him to be, he was. And so I get it when some people might look at him on YouTube or whatever in the videos and say them things about him, but if you met him you wouldn't feel like that.
No.
And all them people that slag him off, I often think, have any of you wrote one book? Have any of you made a film? Have any of you achieved or done any of the things that he done in his life? And I doubt very much any of them that comment on there have done anything. Do you know, which I find it quite amusing to think that they still make them comments. And it's just sad. I think it reflects on their insecurities, people that do that. Do you know what I mean?
This was typical Dave as well. You know when you said he put on that weight?
Yeah.
Do you remember he had a gastric band?
Yeah.
So I didn't know he'd had the gastric band put in. And I came and visited him. And we went round the corner for breakfast. I took him round there, bought him a big fry-up, right? So we sat there, I had a massive fry-up, he had a massive fry-up. And as soon as he ate this fry-up, he went straight outside and just puked the whole lot out in the street. Just puked it all up. He came back in. I said, Dave, you know, are you feeling all right? He went, yeah. I said, are you sure? Because, you know, you've just been sick. He went, yeah, I've got a gastric band, I can't eat solid food. I said, oh, why'd you tell me? I said, I would have, you know, bought me something else. Or he said, yeah, I just miss my fry-ups.
He literally would eat it just to be sick.
He knew he was going to be sick, but he just missed it so much, he just ate it anyway.
It was like on anything like that, Dave was like a naughty kid. You know, they said to him, Dave, you can only eat what's on a saucer, eat every 3 hours, just eat that. And I remember him like coming home and just going, and then he said, well, I can't put any weight on if I keep blending the food. So he blended roast dinners. You know, like we'd have a roast dinner, he'd go put that in a blender and he'd turn it into just this mush gravy thing. God. And he'd drink that, and then he went up to 21 stone again. And I went, because you're not meant to blend a McDonald's, Dave. You're going to put on weight.
Oh, I know, he died here once. His fireplace. He literally just had it done. This was when, after his house just got broken into, he just came out of prison. He had no electricity. His house was just, it'd all been boarded up.
That's right,
So the house was freezing cold. It was all damp. So he dug out the fireplace. I bought loads of wood. We came, put it there, and I slept here on the sofa. So I was sleeping here, put the fire on to keep me warm. And I woke up in the middle of the night, coughing my guts out, and everything was black. I couldn't see nothing. the whole house was black. It was all filled up with smoke, and the chimney it wasn't unblocked. So we've lit the fire. The chimney's blocked up somewhere, so it wasn't unblocked.
All the smoke's coming back.
Yeah, and all the smoke was just filling up the whole house. Even woke Dave up, right? So it was all gone upstairs. It was all everywhere. I literally had to crawl on the floor because that's how black it was. I couldn't see nothing. And I was crawling on my belly to get out.
Yes.
And I nearly died of carbon dioxide poisoning.
So it almost killed you off.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's brilliant. Or anything else you want to say, Brendan?
No, I'd just like to thank Michael for coming over and giving us his time.
Yes.
And he's also, all I can say about Michael, he has supported Dave every time in every way, and never ever did he let Dave down at any point. Was there for him on point all the time. He's a very loyal, genuine friend, Michael and Angelo. They're beautiful people, and I think Dave was lucky to have them in his life.
Yeah, solid people. Brilliant. Thanks very much indeed. Much appreciated.